everybody. The trip was nice, and the job they've done is fantastic. And this is what you need. And Ron worked beautifully with Christie and all of the people at Homeland Security, and got it done in how many days?
8 days. A new facility was up and running. So.
And is this the model going forward, Mr. President?
It can be. I mean, you don't always have land so beautiful and so secure. You have a lot of bodyguards and a lot of cops that are in the form of alligators. You're not dependent so much. But I wouldn't want to run through the Everglades for long. We'll keep people where they're supposed to be. This is a very important thing. We're setting records at the border. You know, we had no people come through this. Zero, no people. But we're going to keep it that way. So Ron did great.
Well, look, we thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for your leadership. The border, you did that quicker than we knew you'd do it, but you did it so quick, which is great. But Biden let in how many millions, and you got to take care of them. And so this is one example of state operating this. The feds are approving it, supporting it. We're also going to have 2,000 more in Camp Landing, which is our National Guard site. And we're the only state in the country that mandates our state and locals, law enforcement, to cooperate with ICE. It's made a huge difference. On any given day, Florida constitutes about 20% of all immigration arrests nationwide. So what I would just say is, don't let Florida be the only state. We've got very red states that should be doing this just as much as Florida's doing. That will increase their numbers. And then what happens is you'll have a lot of people that will deport on their own because they don't want to end up in an Alligator Alcatraz or some of those other places. So I think this is a model, but we need other states to step up.
I was going to ask you, would this be enticing for other states to come up with their own model?
They are doing it. We have Louisiana doing it. Big Alabama's doing it. We have a lot of states. They seem to be red states. There aren't too many blue states for whatever reason. But the red states, Republican-run states, are doing it. The blue states don't do very well at security and policing. What would you say?
You know, I would say that exactly right. The governor here has been fantastic in forming this partnership with the Department of Homeland Security. We were looking at different contracts with different vendors and thought, why not go straight to our governors and ask them to help us solve this problem? Florida was unique in what they presented to us, and I would ask every other governor to do the exact same thing. This is unique because we can hold individuals here, they can have their hearings, get due process, and then immediately be flown back home to their home countries. And their home countries are welcoming them. They're setting up loans for houses, they've got food assistance, they're helping to facilitate welcoming them home. I just got home from Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, and they're all excited about getting their individuals back home from the United States. So
there's a lot of self-reporting.
There is.
And I was actually surprised with a lot of self-reporting. I flew over the Everglades. We did a little circle. I said, well, that's a big piece of the land. Just 25 minutes to fly up. Is there potential for enlargement or additional facilities?
There may be. I mean, I think what we're doing is, because this is an important part of Florida, we're using the existing footprint of this airport. So when you guys go over there, you'll see all the beds, the medical, the galley, everything is on the concrete. We're not using any of the other stuff. Now, as you'll see, there's a lot of concrete, so there very well may be. I know Secretary Noem and her team have said as soon as the president departs, we'll be open to start receiving folks. And so we'll see what the tempo is. We do have the 2,000 in Northeast Florida that will open very soon. So it is possible to do. One of the things I think that is exciting about this is we're offering up our National Guard and other folks in Florida to be deputized to be immigration judges. We're working with the Department of Justice for the approvals. I'm sure Pam will approve. But then I'll have a National Guard judge advocate here. Someone has a notice to appear, Biden would tell them to come back in 3 years and appear. Now you'll be able to appear in like a day or two, so they're not going to be detained hopefully for all that long. We'll have people here in this facility that can make, it's a bureaucracy. The president's got to deal with the bureaucracy. Now that Supreme Court ruling was good because that's going to allow him to be able to exercise Article 2 the way founders intended, but you still have bureaucracy. So we want to cut through that so that we have an efficient operation between Florida and DHS to get the removal of these illegals done.
And are you still prioritizing going after the worst of the worst, or are you now arresting anyone who is here?
The worst group of people, Biden or whoever it was, Biden, whoever it was, what this group of people, a small group that circled the Resolute desk, what they did to this country. Think of it, what your time, all the time you have to waste doing this. It's an unforced error. We had no problem with this. There was never anything.
Mr. President, 2018, you suggested putting alligators in the Rio Grande to prevent crossings in Texas. Is this a dream come true for you, sir?
I was thinking about that. I would say it was meant more as a joke, but the more I thought of it, and they were seriously, they were actually crocodiles. They were crocodiles from Africa. They are a step beyond. But no, that was really meant as a joke, but a lot of people liked it. A lot of people think we should do it.
The Senate, it appears, is about to vote on
I hear we're doing well, Ron. I hear we're doing well.
Are you confident this can get
I
done
don't
by
know.
the 4th of July?
What is confident mean when you're like, when you have one vote and you have 100 people going to vote? I think so. I think it's going to be the greatest bill ever passed. Even for you, it's going to have a tremendous amount of homeland security. Oh, tremendous amount. It's going to keep the border secure. Because, you know, we have it secure now. But we need to build more wall. I built almost 600 miles of wall. We need more wall. And all of that's covered in this bill. This bill is amazing for everybody. It's an amazing bill for Florida. They're really great.
You've heard the concerns about the Medicaid, though, Mr.
No,
President.
we're not going to be playing with that.
An estimated 11.8 million Americans confuse their
The
coverage. Are you
Democrats
breaking
have it
your
wrong.
promise?
Waste, fraud, and abuse. In fact, if you look at what's gone on, we've gone way back. We take care of Medicaid, we take care of Medicare. They will blow Medicare and Medicaid because they have no idea what they're doing. Just like they don't have any idea what they did on the border, they have no idea. Medicaid is in big trouble with the Democrats.
So you can promise anyone who loses their health care coverage that is because of waste, fraud, and abuse?
Waste, fraud, only waste, fraud, and abuse, which is what everybody
Mr. President, facing that set of what would you do if Russia authorizes Texas?
We'll see what happens. I'm watching it very much.
Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit next week, what are you hoping to get out of that? Do you think there'll be any
Well, it's going to be a very quick celebration and a great hit. It was a obliteration. And now it turns out it wasn't. You know, they demean CNN mostly in the New York Times, fake New York Times. They demean these great soldiers. They went over there 17 hours flying and they hit bullseye after bullseye after bullseye. It all blew up. Everybody saw it. Then they get back and CNN said, well, they did okay, but maybe it wasn't. I'll tell you, it was beyond obliteration. Nobody can even get down there. The tunnels are busted. Everything fell into the well. It was a total and complete obliteration, and we should celebrate these heroes. And what I'm doing is I'm bringing them on. We're bringing them to Florida or to the White House. I gave you that choice.
Mr. President, there's going to be a new bill called Make American Elections Great Again, forcing the U.S. Census Bureau to redo the census to actually get an account of how many Americans, proof of citizenship, are in our area, in our country, redistricting some of the House districts. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll speak for both of us. We love it. You don't like this one. I know all about it. We want to bring our elections back. The election in 2020 was rigged, millions and millions of votes. It had to do with COVID and other stuff. It really had to do with their crooked people. The Democrats are very good at cheating the election. And that's why I said too big to do. They tried this one too. But after about 9:02, they gave up. Too big to rig. Ron would love it. I would love it. Kristen would love it. That's what they have to do. They have to bring it back. And we have to look, Ron, they include anybody that happens to be in your state.
Well, California would lose like 5 seats if they did a fair census. And even beyond that, the Biden census gypped Florida of at least 1 seat. We only got 1 seat in the last census. Are you trying to tell me that Florida only had 1 seat in that? We should have had at least 2. Texas should have had another one. That could be the difference in the House of Representatives in the majority. So I would love for them to redo the census for 26. My legislature will redistrict those lines. We'll get it to where it's fair. But as it's right now, this country is not fairly apportioned. I've got so many more millions of people in Florida that have representation because of that flawed census.
Mr. President,
I think it's going to do very well. A lot of people are excited to be part of it. It's captivating. Everybody wants it. It's going to get in. It's going to pass. And we're going to be very happy.
Elon Musk is ripping into this bill again. Are you concerned the Republicans are going to be swayed by Musk and his money?
No, I don't think so. I think what's going to happen is Doge is going to look at Musk. And if Doge looks at Musk, we're going to say, fortune. Thank you very much, everybody. I don't think you should be playing that game.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And the bill is going to be great for Ron. It's going to be great for Florida too. A lot of set-asides for Florida. Some of the things that you wanted to do, and so it's great news to hear that it was approved. Do you want to take a few questions, Ron? We'll take a few questions from these. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given the likelihood of the one big beautiful bill passing, and we look forward to the success of this facility here. How many more facilities like this do you feel that the country needs in order to enact your agenda of mass deportations?
Well, I think we'd like to see them in many states, really, many states. This one, I know Ron's doing a second one, at least a second one, and probably a couple of more. And, you know, at some point they might morph into a system where you're going to keep it for a long time. You know, it's not that far away from jails that take years to build, and money is spent and wasted, and you know, like the railway that they have in California that costs like 40 times more than it was supposed to cost. The same things happens with prisons. You look at this in a short period of time. Ron, James, and some of the people that really worked on it along with our people, they did this in less than a week. And you look at it, it's incredible. The incredible thing is picking the site, because the site was one of the most natural sites. It might be as good as the real Alcatraz site. You know, it could be. Well, that's a spooky one too, isn't it? Huh? That's a tough site. But so I think it could last as long as they want to have it. I mean, you may morph this into, you know, your prison system, frankly, which I know you always need, unfortunately. I'd like to say, you know, a little controversial, but I couldn't care less. We have a lot of bad criminals that came into this country, and they came in stupidly. It was an unforced error. It was an incompetent president that allowed it to happen. It was an auto pen maybe that allowed it to happen, and it did happen. But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time, people that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them, people that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here, too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together. But I think getting them out, you know, we forget about them. We had some bad accidents in New York, and they're not accidents. They were done very much on purpose. People being pushed into a subway just before it arrives, going 40 miles an hour. And they're 10 feet away from where the thing is. You get pushed right into the face of the subway train, get whacked and killed. And these are sick people. I'd like to get them out of here, too. Yeah, please, go ahead. White shirt, glasses.
Julio Rosas, Blaze Media, sir. A couple months ago, I ran into former DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and I asked him a couple questions about his disastrous handling of the border. He didn't like my questions. But the number one question that I heard from people in responding to my video was, why hasn't he been arrested yet? You know, obviously, you guys are cleaning up the mess that was made deliberately for the past 4 years, and so people want accountability. It's great to see that the border is secured, and it's great to see the state level cooperation. But I guess I would ask you, why hasn't he been held accountable, or anybody really?
Well, you know, pardons were given out by to many people, and they shouldn't have been given out. Like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs was given a pardon because they destroyed all of the information from 2 years of hearings, and they should be arrested, but they were given pardons. Was he given a pardon, Mayorkas? Was he not?
I don't believe so.
Well,
sir.
I'd take a look at that one, because what he did is, it's beyond incompetence. Something had to be done. Now, with that being said, he took orders from other people, and he was really doing the orders. And you could say he was very loyal to them, because
It must have been very hard for him to stand up and sit up and, talk about what he allowed to happen to this country and be serious about it. So he was given orders. If he wasn't given a pardon, I could see looking at that. In fact, why don't you take a look at it, Kristen? He was impeached, but yeah, it was just a fake impeachment. It was a fake impeachment. Why don't you take a look at it? I think he was so bad. They were all so bad. Look, it was the worst president in the history of our country. We've had some bad ones, but he was the worst president. But somebody told Mayorkas to do that, and he followed orders, but that doesn't necessarily hold him harmless. So take a look at it. It's a very good question, actually. Thank you. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Mr. President, you and the Secretary have both said that many people have self-deported since you came back into office.
Yeah.
How many is many, and has the rate gone up? How do you see the tempo of that moving forward going on?
We have had several 100,000, but also we have many that have self-deported, not even using the CBP Home app. When I have gone to these other countries to negotiate security agreements and information sharing on criminals, who's coming and going into their countries, they report that hundreds of thousands have come home that weren't on our radar, that they are coming home on their own and self-deporting because they want the chance to be able to go back to America someday. So we believe it's over 1 million, possibly more than that. I'm asking all of those countries for their information on what they have of individuals that may have returned home, that they have taking advantage of their programs to help them become a part of their civilization again too. So we know it's over 1 million, but we have to, I'm getting more information and that number will grow.
If they don't leave, they never get the chance to come back. If we have to take them out, and we will, they'll go out, but they never get a chance to come back. The other way, we actually make it a little bit easier for them to come back. Okay? Thank you. Good question. Thank you.
The bill is now passed in the Senate, but we are already hearing from some Republicans in the House who say they cannot get on board with the changes that were made to the bill in the Senate. What is your message to those holdouts?
Well, I just heard that about the Senate, and the bill just passed, and it tells you there's something for everyone. I mean, it's a great bill. There is something for everyone, and I think it's going to go very nicely in the House. Actually, I think it will be easier in the House than it was in the Senate.
And just to be clear, on the Medicaid cuts, you've promised not to cut Medicaid, said this is all just targeting waste, fraud, and abuse. Are you saying that the estimated 11.8 million people who could lose their health coverage, that is all waste, fraud, and abuse?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's going to be a very much smaller number than that, and that number will be waste, fraud, and abuse. And if you look, they took a much more liberal stance on the Medicaid situation than they could have. They had a tough stance and a weak stance. They took not a very strong stance on that to start off, and it's waste, fraud, and abuse, and everybody wants that covered.
What number is that? What analysis are you seeing?
I'm not seeing a number, but I know it's much less than the number you gave, and we really were very, very cognizant of three things. Social Security, we're going to take care of it beautifully. Medicare and Medicaid, and we are going to save it, whereas the Democrats are going to, you won't have it. They will destroy Medicare and Medicaid, and they have to because their numbers don't work. So it's not going to happen. They're the ones that have destroyed Medicare. They have made it so bad already, they're going to make it a lot worse. But now we'll be in charge, so we're going to have no problem with Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Mr. President. Claire Gall with Wink News in Fort Myers. What is your direction to ICE when it comes to arresting farm workers here illegally, other workers in industries that are pretty critical to Florida's economy?
Yeah. Well, we're very much cognizant of that, and as you know, I won the farmers by 92%, and I'm not going to be abandoning my farmers. We were strong on the borders, but we're also strong for the farmers and for others in the hotel industry, et cetera. You know, we have similar situations, and Christy and I, and we'll be working with Ron and a lot of the states. We're going to work something where the farmers can be responsible for some of the people they have people run for 10, 15 years that they know very well. We're going to put them responsible and we're going to issue a form of a card or document, and the farmer's going to be responsible for these people. They're not going to have citizenship, but they'll be working, they'll be paying taxes. We need to get our farmers the people they need, otherwise our farmers aren't going to be able to do their land. You know, it was tried once before, many, many years ago, where there was a very strong guy And he got everybody out, and every farm, almost in the country, but every farm in California, every farm in Iowa, almost all the farms went bankrupt. They had nobody to work, and we don't want to have that situation. So we're going to work it. We're going to put our farmers and others in charge of the people that they have under them. They know the people, and I think it's going to work out really well. We're going to take care of our farmer, but we're going to get the criminals out. Okay? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, how do you respond to critics who fear that a 3,000-bed detention center and the waste that that could produce will pollute the surrounding federal protected land, including land that both administrations have invested billions of dollars in restoring?
Well, I was one of those that invested billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars right here in the Meadowlands, but in the Everglades, and the Meadowlands too in New York. If you look at what we did up there, speaking of the Meadowlands, a lot of places like this, but this is a very unique one. One thing I'll say about this land, we'll be gone 1,000,000 years and this land is still going to be here. It's not going to be much different. You'll have the water moccasins, you'll have the alligators. You may not have people, but you're going to have all those animals. They're going to be around, and you got plenty of them out here. I think it was a brilliant choice, and I think almost anybody in his or her right mind would say this was a brilliant choice. I give the governor a lot of credit for using this piece of land. And in addition to that, it's on top of something that was already developed. It's an airport. You know, you have the runways, you have the, so it's already been developed. So it's not like you're dropping dirt right into the thing. There was zero movement of that. That was done many years ago because the airport's very old, but it was an abandoned railroad, an abandoned airport. And frankly, it's like perfect. And you can do expansion on this site substantially without doing anything. So the people, I heard them complaining about the Everglades. There's no, I don't think you've done anything to the Everglades. I think you're just enhancing it. This was already here. How long has the airport been here?
Decades.
Many decades, yeah.
And they have, Kevin, all these guys, you know, have a waste plan, like the wastewater gets trucked out, potable water gets, literally, they have, even our DOT has put things up in case there's any seepage, which we don't. So you are literally doing this on concrete that's already here. So I don't think those are valid and even good faith criticisms, because it's not going to impact the Everglades at all. President's been a champion, we've been a champion, really changed the game in Florida on it. I think it's just people don't want to see illegal immigrants deported, and that's their ideology, and they have a right to that. But illegal immigration's unpopular, so they know that they're going to have less effect trying to do it. So they're going to try, oh, well, no, it's just about the Everglades. But really, I think a lot of those people, they just don't want to see illegals deported. Because if you actually hear everyone's here, you obviously know there's zero land that's being disturbed.
Well, you know, when we talk about popularity, though, I will say I ran on the issue of illegals, and we have to get them out. And I won 82% on that issue. So I think that they may not like certain aspects of it, but ultimately they do not want them in their country. And if this is a part of a use, but I think from an environmental standpoint, it's incredible. In fact, when we landed that very big, heavy plane today, they came out and checked it fairly. You know, I think they want the president to be able to land on a piece of concrete that's not going to go 6 feet underground. And they checked it. They came back and they said, this thing is really solid. So it's been there a long time. It's going to be here a long time, and it was a great choice of a site. Thank you. Yes, please. Brian, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The people of Syria were recently seen on the streets waving American flags, chanting Trump, Trump, Trump. They're so appreciative of the economic sanctions that was lifted on that country, giving them a little bit of hope for prosperity. You want to comment on that?
Well, they're great people, and the man that is leading them has a reputation. You know, he's the head of some pretty tough organizations, and a lot of people criticized me for that. I said, well, what are we going to do, take him out of a day school, a country day school? It's going to be, by nature, I would think, Ron, they'll be pretty tough, and he is pretty tough, but I think I met him, spent a lot of time with him, good guy. I took off the sanctions because if I didn't do that, they wouldn't have had a chance. And Syria has a chance. You know, the people are great. They work hard. They're very smart. It used to be a place of professionals, accountants and lawyers and doctors and high academic credentials in that part of the world. And I think it's going to work out great. I took off the sanctions, and they were very appreciative. They were shocked, but they were very appreciative. We're giving them a chance at survival. With the sanctions, it couldn't have worked. Thank you.
Mr. President, your beloved
Mr. President, your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zorhan Mandami, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zorhan Mandami.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We send him money. We send him all the things that he needs to run a government. And by the way, they get about 3 times what you get, Ron. If you look at the per capita, Florida gets 1/3 of what New York gets in terms of the numbers. Why don't you give us those numbers?
Yeah, well,
because that's what we should send him.
Yeah, well, like sometimes people say Florida gets more because they count Social Security recipients, but that's not money to the state. Those are seniors that live here. If they moved to North Carolina, you could count it there. So it has no interaction with the state government. They get more in the city and state governments than we get.
Right, substantially. We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. We're going to look at everything, and ideally. He's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said, we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism. And you got a lot of them like that. And you see AOC, she's out there with her, bad IQ. She's out there ranting and raving about how wonderful he is. And look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago, and it was a long time since a Republican won the city, but you would think that a Republican would be able to win. Or you have a good independent running, Mayor Adams, who's a very good person. I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem, and he was unfairly hurt over this question. He made a statement to the effect that this is terrible. New York City can't have all these immigrants come in, and like he was indicted the following day. And I said, that was a phony indictment, and it was a phony indictment. That was a Biden indictment. I said, don't feel bad. I got indicted 5 times every time you opened your mouth. That was a bad group. That was a very dangerous group, I will tell you. These were not nice people. That was the only thing they could do. They had no policy. They had no skill. They had no anything. But they were very good at that. They were vicious, vicious, horrible people. Thank you very much. Yeah, please go ahead.
Anna Giratelli with Washington Examiner. Governor DeSantis has proposed using National Guard, deputizing them as immigration judges to get through this massive backlog of people in the immigration court. Would you be open to that?
Yes, he has my approval. Okay. That wasn't too hard to get, was it, Ron? He didn't even have to ask me, James. You didn't even need James to ask me. He has my approval, okay? Good. I also like what he's doing in Okeechobee. He has my approval for that. I don't know how we work that out, but we'll work it out.
We'll follow up.
Go ahead. Please.
President Trump, Jake Stofan with Action News Jax from up in Jacksonville. There's some talk about a facility similar to this up in Camp Blanding. Has that been approved by DHS? If not, what's the timeline? When could we see ground break on that?
Well, I'll ask Ron or James to talk about it. Do you want to mention it, James?
The overarching plan, I think the secretary has said she supports the whole plan, so you guys are going to keep going. Yeah.
So, Mr. President, just specifically, the response for proposals is out for that today. It closes, I can't even remember what day of the week it is, but it closes on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Then we will do notice to proceed. So I would say right after our wonderful Independence Day, we will be starting construction there at that facility.
You're going to have another big runway there, too.
That's great. Wow. Boy, I love these runways. It's very convenient, I must say. Having a runway is a nice thing. Today, you don't get runways approved. I will tell you, it's tough to get a runway. Although in the age of Trump, you get them approved fast. We're approving massive electrical bins, what they call them bins, but big electrical facilities for all of the factories and the AI that's coming in. They're going to build their own electric. They're going to be really. They're going to be made into electrical providers. They're going to have a lot left over. They'll put it into the grid. I think, they're going to end up doing so much. They'll put it into the grid. Won't even cost anything from their standpoint. So we have a lot of that happening. We get approvals fast. But I was just saying, runways are hard to get, but we'll get them now. But in the past, I would say over the past 30, 40 years, when you can get a runway, that was considered gold. Okay, please, go ahead. Go ahead. Sure. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
President Trump, Laverne McGee, News 6 Orlando. You have fulfilled several campaign promises along with the help of Governor Ron DeSantis. What is the next campaign promise that you plan to fulfill to the American people?
So we have turned this country around in less than 6 months. And when I was away, and I was telling Ron, I was telling some others, I've said it a little publicly, I guess, but I met a lot of very important people. The King of Saudi Arabia, I was there 2 weeks ago, and Qatar, the leader of Qatar, who's great, and the leader of UAE, who's great. These are very substantial people, very smart people, and good people. And all three of them said essentially the same thing, along with many other people, because I just left NATO. NATO's we took it up to 5%. Nobody can believe that one run. That would be hard, but nobody believes that, what happened in NATO, over $1 trillion a year from like nothing. It was an honor. But every leader said that a year ago, this country was dead. They had no confidence in the United States. They really felt it was a dead country, and it was some bad things were going to happen. But they used the term, it was a dead country, and now they said you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country in the world right now. And we turned it around fast. I thought it would take longer than this. We turned it around fast. Some of it was psychology, and we had to know how good we were. But others was getting rid of rules, regulations, and all of the things that I got rid of already. I signed more executive orders than anybody in history, times like 3 or 4. And I got rid of just one. I got rid of the other night. You buy a house, they have a faucet in the house, Joe, and the faucet, the water doesn't come out. They have a restrictor. You can't, in areas where you have so much water, they don't know what to do with it. You have a shower head, the shower doesn't, you think it's not working. It is working. The water's dripping out. And that's no good for me. I like this hair I like that hair nice and wet. Takes you have to stand in the shower for 20 minutes before you get the soap out of your hair. And I put a thing in, and it sounds funny, but it's really not. It's horrible. And when you wash your hands, you turn on the faucet, no water comes out. You're washing, the water barely comes out. So this was done by crazy people. And I wrote it all off and got it approved in Congress so that they can't just change it, because I did it in my first term. Everyone was so happy. And then one of the first things that Biden did when he came back is he put the restriction on showers, toilets, and sinks. Put this restriction, and washing machines. The washing machine, they give you like a quarter of this bottle to do your clothing. And people needed 10 of these bottles. And the people came to me from Whirlpool, and they said, we can't make a machine that's competitive. We can't make a machine anymore. It doesn't work. Why? They don't let us use water. Do you have any problems with water? No, we have so much we don't know what to do with it. You know, it comes down from heaven, right? And I approved all of that, the washing machines, the whole thing. The dishwashers, that was the other one. They give you like this much water right up to there to do your dishes. So people, you know what they do? They keep pressing the button. So they end up doing the dishes 10 times. They end up using more water than you would have used if you did it right in the first place. So all of that stuff has been written off. It sounds crazy. It's little things. The straw, I let you go back to a plastic straw. I was tired of having straws melt in my mouth, you know? It wasn't working. The paper wasn't working too well. So these are little things that I did. Then we have the big things. We have the biggest things, and that has to do with some of the subjects we're talking now. I think the things we're talking about now are the biggest, because if you don't have borders in this country, borders and good elections, and we're working on that next. There's some bills coming in that's going to make sure that you're a citizen, that people aren't counted in the voting when, you know, they were here and they're here as illegals and they're criminals in many cases, and they give them a count. And you end up with extra congressmen. We're going to work on that. We're going to straighten that out next. That's going to be easy compared to what we were doing. But we did the big things, too. But little things like that, a straw, little things like a washing machine with no water. People go out, they spend all their money on a washing machine. The damn thing doesn't work. You can't use the water. Then you go to your sink, and that doesn't work either. You're stuck. You know what you do? You have dirty plates the next day. That's it. And we solved so many common sense problems. And they weren't easy, you know. There are people that really believe in this stuff. But, you know, most states have so much water they don't know what to do with it. And look at North Carolina. I mean, they had a lot of water, and they have to get restrictors on their, you know, on their kitchen faucets. So we're very proud of the things we did, and we're going to do a lot more of them. Yeah, please, go ahead. Guy's in good shape.
Hey, it's Eric Bowling. How you doing, sir? Something we've talked about for, I'd say, the better part of 20 years. I think it's something near and dear to your heart, energy, our energy security. Under Joe Biden, average price of oil for the 4 years was about $79 a barrel. He drained the SPR halfway down, promised to replenish it, never did.
Right.
Under you, first term, $53 average price for 4 years. Biden was $78 for 8 years. It was never refilled. The question is now it's $64 or so.
Yeah.
What
coming down rapidly.
Coming down, and what a great opportunity to fix another one of Joe Biden's problems, one of the things he broke in America, giving us the energy security of an emergency SPR.
Sure.
Fill it to, maybe even go beyond and fill it to 1 billion barrels this time at a much cheaper price. Thoughts on the energy sector?
So it holds 77 million barrels, and we had it up to the top, if you remember. And I was proud of that, and I made a deal to buy it at the lowest price of oil. It was a good deal, good instinct. And we filled it up, and when he came in, he started using it to keep oil prices down because he blew our energy policy out. Energy and his bad spending is what caused inflation. So now we have no inflation. Gasoline just hit $1.99 today in 5 states. $1.99, isn't that a nice sound? It was up to $4, and going up to 5, 6, and 7. In California, it was $7.70. But we just hit in five states, $1.99, $1.98. And it's coming down to that level, so that'll be a big thing. And one of the reasons the prices and costs are going down when you go to the supermarket, because I said I was going to get costs down. We're getting the cost down. Food is coming down. When I came out, my first week, if you remember, I had a lunatic reporter screaming at me saying, eggs are going through the roof. What are you going to do about eggs? I said, I just got here. I didn't know anything about eggs. I had to call you. I said, look, I just got here. Tell me the problem. Well, they're doubled in price, and they're going to be 5 or 6 times higher. They were right, actually. I said, let me work on it. And now we have eggs down to the same numbers it was when I first came in. You know, we lowered the cost of groceries. A simple word like that, groceries, it was like almost a strange word. I hadn't heard the word in so long, but what could be more beautiful than the word grocery? And we have the prices way down. We have the energy way down. Energy brought the groceries down, if you want to know the truth. And, you know, so we think we're going to get it lower, and we're going to fill up the it's called the Strategic National Reserves. I had it topped out, and this guy would use them every time before the election. He'd use them whenever they had an election. It was artificial. But believe it or not, as big as that are hundreds of millions of barrels of oil, all filled up at low prices. But it was really meant for wars, and it wasn't meant for keeping your prices down during a holiday so that somebody could get elected. But they used it, and they didn't bring it. The only mistake you made, they didn't bring it a little down. They brought it right down to the bottom. The thing is practically empty. They never filled it up. They never spent 10 cents in filling it up. And we'll do that. When the market is right, we'll fill it up. I want to fill it up when the market's right. Thank you. How about one more question? Okay, please, in the back.
Dana Marie McNichol, Fox News Channel. Mr. President, is there an expected time frame that detainees will spend here, days, weeks, months? And does that have anything to do with the immigration judges you just spoke about being trained and staffed here?
When you say, what was the first part of your question?
Is there a specific time frame you expect the detainees to spend here? Days, weeks, months?
In Florida?
Yes, here at Alligator Alcatraz.
I'm going to spend a lot. Look, this is my home state. I love it. I love your government. I love all the people around. These are all friends of mine. They know them very well. I mean, I'm not surprised that they do so well. They're great people. Ron has been a friend of mine for a long time. I feel very comfortable in the state. I'll spend a lot of time here. I want to, for 4 years, I've got to be in Washington, and I'm okay with it because I love the White House. I even fix up the little Oval Office. I make it, it's like a diamond. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It wasn't maintained properly, I will tell you that. But even when it wasn't, it was still the Oval Office, so it meant a lot. But I'll spend as much time as I can here. You know, my vacation is generally here because it's convenient. I live in Palm Beach. It's my home. And I have a very nice little place, nice little cottage to stay at, right? But we have a lot of fun, and I'm a big contributor to Florida, pay a lot of tax. And a lot of people move from New York, and I don't know what New York is going to do. A lot of people moved to Florida from New York, and it was for a lot of reasons, but one of them was taxes. The taxes are so high in New York, they're leaving. I don't know what New York's going to do about that, because some of the biggest wealthiest people and some of the people that pay the most taxes of any people anywhere in the world, for that matter. They're moving to Florida and other places. So we're going to have to help some of these states out, I think. But thank you very much. I'll be here as much as I can. Very nice question. With that, I'd like to just end by saying I want to thank Ron and James and all of the people that have done such a great job, all of your staff. Really fantastic work. And it really started with site selection. You can do a great job, but if you have the wrong site in real estate, you have the wrong site, you're dead. And this was a great site selection, despite what you may read in the environmental press. Good job. And this was an honor for Christy and myself and Steve and all of our people to be here. And I also appreciate the media. They've treated us very fairly. Over the last few weeks, I've been treated very nicely. And it's so unusual. I'm not used to it, but we've gotten great accolades. Brian, I want to thank you for calling out, because I was waiting here, because I knew the vote was taking place and I'm answering questions, right? So I want to thank you very much and say hello to our friend. And I will see a lot of you. Thank you very much. We're going to make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, brother. 165 days into the Trump administration, America is on a winning streak like, frankly, nobody's ever seen before in the history of the presidency. I said, they said, you know, sir, you're going to go down as one of the greatest presidents ever. I said, really? No, I said, really? I said, better than Washington? They said, yes, sir. I said, better than Honest Abe Lincoln? They said, yes, sir. I said, I like this guy that said that. That's a smart guy. He's up for a big promotion right now. But just a few months ago, our country was cold as ice. We were laughed at all over the world. We were laughed at. Think of it, a year ago, we were laughed at. We were a bunch of clowns. They were laughing at our president. They were laughing at everything having to do with our country. I was in Saudi Arabia. I was in Qatar. I was in UAE. Great leaders, strong, powerful, very rich leaders too, by the way, but great leaders, very smart people. And they said to me, the king of Saudi Arabia, but the three said the same thing essentially. They said, you know, a year ago we thought your country was finished. We thought it was dead. Dead. Horrible word, dead. And they were right. The country was close to death. And he said, and you know what? You've been in there. At that time it was 4.5 months. It was a couple of months ago. He said, right now, you're in the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's no country in the world. You talked about all over the world. You got the hottest, smartest, sharpest country. And by the way, look at our stock market. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars on tariffs with no inflation. And today we just set another record, the highest stock market in history. No inflation. And one of the great economists from the Wharton School of Finance, where I happened to go, he apologized. He says, you know, I think Trump outsmarted us all. And yesterday was the poll, and out of 77 economists, I came in second. I want to find the guy that came in first. Somebody came in first. Can you believe it? But we said what was going to happen, and it's happening. And I'll tell you what, we had the greatest economy in history of my first term. This is going to blow it away. You watch. This is going to blow it away. For the first time in years, this 4th of July, the economy is roaring, incomes are soaring, wages are up, prices are down. Gasoline, you see what's going on with gasoline? It's way down. See what's going on with eggs? Eggs are way down, eggs. Remember I came in my first week, the fake news, those guys right there, look at all of them. Wow, wow. No, a lot of fake. No, but we like them. It just shows you, when you can get every story, 100% of the stories, no matter what you do that's good, they make it as bad as possible, and then you win in a landslide. There's something wrong. But the fake news hit me with eggs. Remember, first week, 4 days, eggs are through the roof. I said, I just got here. What's going on with eggs? Tell me. I didn't hear about it. They're up 5 times higher than they should be. They were going through the roof, but they were blaming me. I said, I just got here. And within 2 months, our great Secretary of Agriculture, who I think is with us tonight, Brooke, where's Brooke? Oh, look at you. Look, she is here. She flew all the way she comes from Texas, but I think she likes Iowa maybe even better. Look at her. You did a good job with groceries and with eggs. We'll tell you, it's true. They said, we have them this time, finally. It took an egg to get me, but that didn't happen either. Now they're down to a normal price, and people are ordering like crazy. But inflation is dead. 401ks and retirement accounts just hit an all-time record high. Did I hear what I think I heard? But we've achieved the lowest level of illegal border crossings in U.S. history, 0 illegals. Think of it, we had 0. And as I said, and I'll say it again, I love it because I have never seen any country suffer. No country has ever, there's never, don't worry, it's only fireworks, I hope. Famous last words. My famous last words, Trump said, don't worry, it's only fireworks. You always have to think positive. I didn't like that sound either. You know? But last month, American-born workers gained 830,000 new jobs, a record. That's American-born. While the illegal aliens lost 340,000, and we don't want bad for them, but look, we have a country to run, and we want to have them come in, and we want to have them help our farmers. You know, you probably saw I got myself into a little trouble because I said, I don't want to take people away from the farmers. And we're going to do something I think that's going to be good because we want all the criminals out. Everybody agrees that we're finding the criminals, the murderers, the drug dealers. We're getting them the hell out of here. But the farmers, some of the farmers, many of you sitting right here, I have 4 friends right in the 5th row. But some of the farmers, you know, they've had people working for them for years. And we're going to do something. We're working with Christie. And we're going to do something that we're going to sort of put the farmers in charge. And if a farmer's been with one of these people that work so hard, they bend over all day. We don't have too many people can do that, but they work very hard and they know them very well. And some of the farmers are literally, you know, they cry when they see this happen. If a farmer is willing to vouch for these people, in some way, Christy, I think we're going to have to just say that's going to be good, right? You know, we're going to be good with it because we don't want to do it where we take all of the workers off the farms. We want the farms to do great like they're doing right now. So Christy Norm has done a fantastic job, and Tom Holman. And we're working on legislation right now. Susie, right? We're working on legislation right now where farmers, look, they know better. They work with them for years. You had cases where, not here, but just even over the years, where people have worked for on a farm for 14, 15 years, and they get thrown out pretty viciously, and we can't do it. We got to work with the farmers and people that have hotels and leisure properties too. We're going to work with them, and we're going to work very strong and smart, and we're going to put you in charge. We're going to make you responsible, and I think that that's going to make a lot of people happy. Now, serious radical right people, who I also happen to like a lot, they may not be quite as happy, but they'll understand, won't they? Do you think so? Madam Secretary, look at you with a white hat on. Do you think they'll understand that? You're the one that brought this whole situation up. Brooke Rollins brought it up, and she said, so we have a little problem. The farmers are losing a lot of people. And we figured it out, and we have some great stuff being written, and let the farmers be responsible. And then if the farmers don't do a good job, we'll throw them the hell out of the country. We'll let the illegals stay, and we'll throw the farmer the hell out, okay? Get ready, farmer, I'm telling you. But okay, so the fake news will write that. Donald Trump will throw farmers out of our country. They will write it. Because whenever I'm sarcastic, you know, when you can't be sarcastic as a politician. Well, if you're me, you can't be if you're so I want to say I was only kidding. No, the fake news will write it. Donald Trump wants all farmers thrown the hell out of our country. The audience booed the hell out of him. There was no boo. No, they're fake news. That's why nobody watches them anymore. Violent crime is plummeting, and we're on track to reach the lowest murder rate ever recorded by the end of this year. It looks like we're doing way good. And that's knowing that we have a lot of people in the country that we didn't have in the country 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, we have a lot of people that they allowed into the country that are serious criminals. A lot of them are on their way out, however. Iran's nuclear enrichment has been obliterated. Remember when CNN said, it wasn't obliterated. It was maybe damaged or damaged badly, but obliterated is too strong a word. No, it was obliterated. That's now been proven. The atomic energy commissions, everything, that's been obliterated. And they were trying to demean me by saying that, but they were really demeaning those great pilots and people and mechanics that got those planes over there and were able to shoot from high up in the air going very, very fast with potentially a lot of things being shot at them and hit every single one, they're trying to demean me, but to me they were demeaning them. And they got out of the plane and they said, what the hell, we hit every single target. They know better than anybody, but now that's been proven. It's CNN fake news and scammers that work for them, scam writers that work for them. But we understand it and we fight it back, and a lot of people said, sir, don't criticize it because they're beneath you. No, they're not beneath me. Nobody's beneath. You got to put it, otherwise people don't understand. If you don't say something about it, you got to say it. These people did one of the greatest military hits and maneuvers in the history of our country, and I want them to be appreciated for it. So they're coming to the White House tomorrow night, and I'm signing the bill with the Speaker of the House. And by the way, Mike Johnson did a great job. John Thune did a great job. Everybody. This whole 2 weeks has been incredible, hasn't it? You know, when you think of all of the victories, we stopped 5 nations from going to war, and somebody else will get the Nobel Peace Prize for their writing about Donald Trump. A professor at some school that you've never heard of has received the Nobel Prize for his writing about Donald Trump and what Donald Trump did. I'll say, what about me? I don't get it, but that's one of those things. But think of it, we stopped India and Pakistan, we stopped Kosovo and Serbia. They've been fighting for a long time, and a lot of it was trade. I said, you're not going to trade with us if you're going to go to war. And India, Pakistan was big, very big, for a different reason. I mean, they have little things called nuclear weapons. You would have had pretty soon a nuclear war. We stopped that. In Africa, you look at what was going on in the Congo with Rwanda. That war was going on for 30 years. 30 years, and we stopped it, and it was vicious. 6 million people killed, and it was a bad one. It was killed and killed badly. Machetes. A machete. You know what a machete is? You don't want to know. And we just did a really great job. And then, of course, you cap it off with the hit, the perfect hit in Iran, where they were talking awfully badly. You know, death to America, death to Israel. They were talking awfully badly, and they're not talking badly anymore, to be honest with you. And we might even meet with them and see if they want to meet. They want to meet, and we'll see if we can do something. But they want to meet. I think they want to meet very badly. But our allies have agreed to pay over $1 trillion a year for our defense. You saw what happened in NATO. In fact, we have our ambassador to NATO here. Where's our you know that guy? In Iowa, they know him. Big Matt Whitaker. We have Matt Whitaker from Iowa. I wasn't going to hire him, and then I said, Matt, you come from Iowa, don't you? Yes, sir, I do. Okay, you're hired. Anybody comes from Iowa, I hire. And every branch of the U.S. military is setting records for new enlistments. You know, remember a year ago, it was embarrassing. They couldn't get anybody to go into the military. They couldn't get anybody to go into the police or fire departments. They couldn't get anybody to go into government. And now we just set a record, a new record of enlistments in every single branch of the military and in all police forces. 1 year. 1 year ago, I remember saying to our great First Lady, I said, you know, First Lady, I call her First Lady because it makes me feel good. First Lady, isn't it terrible? You're saying good night, First Lady, my darling. Because it reminds me that I'm president. That's why. No, I said, First Lady, it's terrible. Nobody wants to join our military force. And you know, that was very demeaning to the people that are in there, that have been in there for a long time doing a good job. And then all of a sudden, like, we get elected and there's a spirit in the country and we start doing well. We have victory after victory in so many different things, especially economically. We're doing so good. We have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in from other countries. We have plants being built all over. I mean, a little less here because you have enough with your farm. Oh, by the way, but I did get beef and I got ethanol into Europe. You saw that. You saw that. United Kingdom, they didn't want to do it. You know, they never took our beef and they never took our ethanol, and we said, you got to do it, and they did, and they were great. We made a wonderful trade deal with them, but we're doing that all over. Is ethanol very important still for Iowa? Is it so? Yes? Anyway, so they're taking it in the United Kingdom, and beef, they never took it because they want to do their own. You know, they have a lot of farms and a lot of farmers, and they want to do their own, but they took it, and it's going to be great. You're going to do, I'll tell you what, the farmers here are going to do incredibly. Plus, we have tariffs on a lot of this stuff that was coming in and absolutely killing you, where they have different forms of vegetation coming in at prices that were very, very bad for you. And a lot of it comes in because they want to put you out of business, and then they want to raise the prices. And we're not letting that happen to the farmers and to Iowa, to Nebraska and Wisconsin and all these other places that have been so great. And in breaking news just yesterday, we reached a historic trade agreement with Vietnam to open their markets to American exports with 0 tariffs. They get 0 tariffs. And you're going to be giving them vast amounts of farm product, including beef, pork, poultry, dairy, and pure Iowa ethanol. You're going to be given all of those products. And the fact is, I could go on, but the fact is really strong, and it's stronger than it's ever been, and stronger than I've ever seen. The golden age of America is upon us. This is a golden age. This is such a beautiful term, the golden age. And I couldn't have even said it in my first term. I'm telling you, this is going to blow the first term away, and we did great. We got great marks in the first term, and this is going to blow it away. This incredible national resurgence is happening just in time for one of the biggest events in the history of our country. Exactly 1 year from tomorrow, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of America's founding with a birthday party, the likes of which you have never seen before. 2 years ago, I came to Iowa and promised that the festivities would begin right here at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. And tonight, here I am, okay? Promises kept. Promises kept. It's an honor, too. It's an honor because you've been with me from the beginning. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, it is an honor. You've been with me from the beginning. It was without doubt. In fact, I had some moments when I said maybe they might not, fake stories were put out there like, I don't like corn. I don't like corn. I love corn. But they give you fake news. I said, do you think that's going to hurt me in Iowa? My numbers went up. No, I don't know. I can't figure you people out. This evening, we're officially launching America 250, an enormous year-long nationwide celebration of our heritage. It's really also a celebration of our flag, our great American flag, and our glorious American freedom. Did anybody see the beautiful flag I put up in front of the White House? Right? Everyone's liking it. Everyone's liking it. I actually put 2 up. I put one in the front and one in the back. I didn't want to go too crazy. I thought that would be enough. They're big. They're about as big as you can get. We're proud of it. We will be announcing many more details in the weeks to come, but there are just some of the things that we have planned. And I have to say first, in honor of the wonderful tradition of fairgrounds like this one, this is a great fairground. As you know, I've been here before. We will be orchestrating what we're calling the Great American State Fair, and it will start right here in Iowa. Right? So we're starting it off in Iowa. Now we're starting it off at your great fairgrounds, and we're going to have a big crowd just like we do tonight. That's a big crowd. I can't even see the end of it. So thank you back there. I'd like to move the press back so they could see better. But the Great American State Fair will bring America 250 programming to fairgrounds across the country, culminating in a giant patriotic festival next summer on the National Mall, featuring exhibits from all 50 states, and all 50 states are excited, and I was excited. You know, when I did the 250, there was nothing I could do. It was 250, it was 250, so I can't say that was my baby. The country happened to be 250 years old. But what I did do is during my first term, I got the Olympics, and I got the great soccer. You know that whole deal, right? We call it soccer, they call it football. I got them both. I got the Olympics. First, I got the Olympics, and I got it. I was president, and I said, you know, it's a shame. It's a shame. I got the World Cup, and I have the Olympics, and I did it. And you have no idea. President Obama didn't want to make a call to the Olympics. You know why? Because he went to Switzerland or wherever, and he said, you know, if a president goes to get the Olympics, you have to have a deal. You have to be chosen. He went there, and he came in fourth, so he hated them, I guess. And he was unwilling to make a call, and they called me up. Democrats called me up, actually, from Los Angeles, and I said, I'll do it. I made the call, and I couldn't get the people off the phone because they were so starved for love, because nobody would call them from. Anyway, we made a deal. I got the Olympics. Then we got the World Cup with Johnny. We got the World Cup, and I got them both, and I looked at my people. I said, isn't it a shame? I got these two, but it wasn't in the next 4 years. It was right after that, and the one after that. And I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and we also have 250, so it's a pretty wild term. But I got these two things that are incredible. Nobody else could have done it. I'm telling you, everybody wanted it. Nobody could have done it. And I said, and I won't be president, because I'll be president for 4 more years, but it won't be. And then they cheated and rigged the election. They rigged. You know, they don't even turn off the cameras when I say that now, because now they know it's true, too. But they knew it was true before. Remember, the cameras used to immediately turn off. You see all those beautiful red lights go off. Now I can say whatever I want because then they know it's true. But they knew it was true before. It's fake news. That's what they call it. But you know what? This term is much more consequential than if I had done it the more traditional way. This was slightly harder, believe me. It's slightly more dangerous because there are criminals on the other side that tried to put your president in jail and went after him, just like they do in third world countries. And we all beat him together. We beat him because our level of popularity was so high. And it was high because I explained the situation. When these thugs came around, I explained it to the people. And fortunately, I was able to be on a lot of television, I did whatever you had to do. I had to explain it. Then they say, wow, that's fake stuff. It was fake. They're a bunch of bad people, but we kicked their ass, and we're going to continue to do well, and I appreciate it. And there was nobody more loyal than Mr. Kaufman, who's fantastic, and Iowa, and his son, who's maybe more fan. Where the hell is he? Stand up. Where's your boy? His son is better than him, I'm telling you. And he doesn't mind. I have a lot of fathers who would be very insulted if I said that, but they're bad people. He's a good guy. He's got a son who's fantastic, you know that. I think he's probably here someplace. Where is? Oh, he's better looking than you too. Good, thank you. Great job. Nobody more loyal than the people of Iowa during that period of time when we had to show our stuff. But we just celebrated the 250th anniversary of the Army at Fort Bragg. You know, they changed the name, and we changed it back to Fort Bragg. The people of North Carolina came up. They said, sir, we want to really have the name of Fort Bragg back. Everybody was saying that. They kept calling it Fort Bragg. I changed it back. You know, these radical left lunatics changed the name of Fort Bragg. So we won World War II. We won World War I. We won other wars. We won everything from Fort Bragg and other places. So we were also changing many of them back. And then we decided to change the name now. I tell people, you know, it's incredible. We're the only people. We win 2 world wars from a place, and then we say, let's change the name. So we change it back, and the people are very happy in North Carolina right now. And we just celebrated, because the 250 was for the Army, was 1 year earlier than which makes sense. You know, we had a little Army, we did well, and, you know, we have a nation. So it was 1 year earlier than the nation itself. And we had a beautiful parade in Washington, D.C. the other day. It was fantastic. You know, it was amazing because the weather was so overcast and it looked so bad. And a week before they said, oh, it's going to rain. I said, oh, man, we're bringing all these Army tanks. We're bringing all these people, these men and women. They're going to march down Fifth Avenue or wherever. This is terrible. It's going to rain. And then on the day we woke up, rain is projected all night long, heavy. Oh, I'm saying I'll get my hair soaking wet. My hair's going to be soaking wet. I'll be crazy. I'll say, you know, this is terrible. It's going to rain 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The thing was at 8 in the evening, 1 o'clock. Rain is forecast at levels you haven't seen before. I said, oh, this is it. And so the generals called me, sir, we could change it, but this is the Army. We're sort of used to bad weather. I said, no, don't change it. I'll wear a raincoat and I'll wear a big fat hat so I don't get totally drenched. I'll be okay. I'm such a tough cookie. And then what happens? We get there and there's no rain. And we go 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of watching these great guys marching down Fifth Avenue. It never rained. And then I thought to myself, global warming, they're telling us what's going to happen in 250 years to our planet, but they can't tell us it's going to rain 3 hours before the event. In 250 years from now, the planet's going to burn up or freeze up. And you know, remember when they said, they called it global warming, then global cooling. They had all different things. Now they just changed it to climate change, because climate change you can't miss. How's it doing? Climate change every time. If it's cold, if it's hot, if it's rainy, if it's sunny, if it's too crazy, we have climate change. But think of it. They're telling you what's going to happen 100 years. The oceans are going to rise 1/4 of an inch and everyone's going to be wiped out. No, you're going to have more oceanfront property if that happens. It's okay. Not the worst. And think of it, with all of the nuclear weapons, remember Biden had always used to say, it is it's an existential threat. He loves the word existential. It's an existential threat. What is? I don't know, climate change. Remember that? Always, that's dangerous too, because they're going to take that thing and they're going to say, he couldn't say existential. So you can't imitate people either. Remember I used to imitate Biden, couldn't get off the stage, and I'd walk into walls? And I called my wife, because it's always on television, and I said, how was it, baby? How good was that? We had 44,000 people. Nobody else could do it. I have to brag a little bit, you know, because what the hell? There's a little truth to that. But I brag a little bit. I say, how good was I? You were really good, but, you know, what happened? You couldn't find us. You couldn't get off the stage. I said, no, I was imitating Biden. No, well, that's not the way it showed up. They showed you hitting walls, bunking your head on walls. So even like the word existential, when I imitate him saying it, tonight it's going to be on CNN. He couldn't speak. He couldn't say the word. These are seriously sick people. But now, this fall, we're also going to be celebrating 250 birthdays of the United States Navy and the United States Marines. They're all good. And I'm a little prejudiced, and one of them is going to be really great. It's called Space Force, because that was my baby. Remember, they wanted to terminate it. First year of Biden's administration, they wanted to terminate Space Force, and the military wouldn't let them. And it's turned out to be one of the most important there is. I was very proud of that Space Force, and they're doing great. In addition, just as I promised 5 years ago tonight in my speech at Mount Rushmore, where a certain governor at that time, who's now our Homeland Security Chief, Kristi Noem, stand up, Kristi. Now I don't have to introduce you later. You know, I hired Tom Homan for the border, and I said, Tom, I want you to give me who'd be the best to be the Secretary of Homeland Security, which is essentially his boss. He said, Kristi Noem, sir. I said, Kristi Noem? You gotta be kidding. She's a great person. She's smart, but, I mean, is she tough enough? Sir, she's the toughest person around. I said, and she is. She's tough as hell. I've learned. I'll tell you, a lot of bad people have learned, and she's done a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. But we're going to be officially opening the National Garden of American Heroes, a vast outdoor park featuring statues of the greatest Americans who ever lived. You know, they took down a lot of our statues. They took down statues of some of the greatest people that we've ever had living. I stopped them from taking down Thomas Jefferson. They wanted to take the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. They wanted to rip the hell out of the statue inside. You can imagine who they were going to put up. Let's get rid of Thomas Jefferson. So we stopped them. We signed a law. Do you remember that night? It was crazy. And they were marching toward the Jefferson Memorial, and I took out an old bill from 1909, And it was a bill that if you so much as touched, old, because today they don't do these things. They don't do it like they used to. Today you could never get it passed. It said if you so much as touch a monument or a statue, you go to jail for a 10-year period. No anything. So they were marching down there, and in the middle of their march, I gave a news conference. I said, anybody that touches, and I'm signing, immediately goes to jail for a 10-year period. That march broke up so quickly you've never seen. They said, it's a miracle. What happened? I signed a little bill that said you go to jail for a 10-year period. It was a great thing. It was an old bill that wasn't used. In fact, I don't know. I hope we don't have to use it again. But they're learning that, you know, we saved Los Angeles. If we didn't send in the National Guard, I would have sent it in the military if they needed it. But if we didn't send in the National Guard, Los Angeles would have been burned down to the ground, just like half of their houses were burned down to the ground because they didn't give water that they had plenty of. I'm pleased to report that the One Big Beautiful Bill includes full funding for those statues, and we're going to do statues to our greatest Americans, and we're going to let the people choose who they are. You better choose me. No, I'm only kidding. I should take myself out. I think I should take myself out, Susie. Our great Chief of Staff, the first woman Chief of Staff. Can you believe it? Susie Wiles, stand up, Susie. And that beautiful exterior, don't let it fool you. She's rough and tough. She got rated the most powerful woman anywhere in the world. She can take out a country with a mere phone call, which is true. Actually, it's very true in her case. And she's done a great job. We're doing okay, Susie? Looking good. We had a good 2 weeks, right? This had to be the best 2 weeks. Has anybody ever had a better 2 weeks than that? Next, to bring back our people together through the power of sports, America 250 will also host a brand new, first-of-its-kind youth athletes. It's a competition known as the Patriot Games, and it features top high school athletes from all 50 states. It's going to be great. And this phenomenal patriotic sporting event will be nationally televised, and it will be led by our great Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., who's really doing it good. He's great, and he's a little different, right? We needed somebody different. You know, autism. You go back, I guess, 18 years, 10,000, think of this, out of 10,000 people, okay? 10,000 people, and I'll go a little different way. Right now, out of 10,000 people, 18 people they're safe. 18 people. We have a statistic on autism that's the worst I've ever seen, and he's going to change it. He's going to change it. It used to be 20 years ago, you just didn't have it. And now it's numbers that are unbelievable, where the numbers are so bad, it's got to be artificially induced, and we're going to find out what it is and when. We're going to find it out as soon as possible. I mean, you think about it, the numbers have increased by 200-fold. And that's really something, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. That's a terrible situation. Likewise, under the leadership of Secretary Burgum, who's here right now, he was a great governor of North Carolina. Great governor of North Dakota. Where is he? Where is he? Mr. Secretary. And he's in charge of energy plus a lot of land. He's the biggest landlord, I guess, in the world. But he was a great governor of North Dakota. And he was very special in so many ways. He became an energy expert. And he came to me, and I said, I want you to be the head of energy. He said, no, we have one man that's better than me, and that was Chris, right? And put him in charge, and we merged the two. And he's got all the land with all the oil, and the other one has all the expertise to get the oil out of the land. And Chris is doing great, and you're doing great, Doug, and I appreciate it. And say hello to Catherine and everybody. You're doing a great job. We have a great cabinet. So every one of our national park, battlefields, and historic sites are going to have special events in honor of America 250. And I even think we're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have, does anybody watch UFC, the great Dana White? We're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this, on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. We're going to build a little, we're not, Dana's going to do it. Dana's great, one of a kind. Going to have a UFC fight, championship fight, full fight, like 20, 25,000 people. And we're going to do that as part of 250 also. We're going to have some incredible events, some professional events, some amateur events. But the UFC fight's going to be a big deal, too. And to fund improvements and enhanced experiences across the park system, for this anniversary, I've just signed an executive order to raise entrance fees for foreign tourists while keeping prices low for Americans. And we're going to do that. The national parks will be about America first. We're going to take it America first for the national parks. And these are just a few of the many programs, initiatives, celebrations that will renew for our national pride. We're going to have great pride. I think we do have great pride. I think we have more pride and more spirit in our country right now than we've had in 50 years. And together we're going to ensure that America's 250th anniversary is the single greatest year in the history of our country. We want to have a lot of great things. A lot of the things that Bobby and Health and Human Services are doing are going to come up during that period of time. And we're going to come up with a lot of tremendous things for health and safety. And economically, we're going to have the strongest country anywhere in the world. And the bill that we just got approved today was, think of that, all of those votes. 2 negative votes, but we had no Democrats. 2 negative votes in the Republicans out of all that. So I want to thank those great Republicans that voted to get it in. You know, we could only lose 3. If we lost 3, trouble. And we didn't lose 3. We lost 2, and I'm sure if I needed the 2, I could have gotten them too. But we're pleased to be joined tonight by many friends who will help make that possible, including, and I introduced Doug Burgum already from North Dakota, and just a great. He was really one of the best. Was he a better governor than you? Would you say, Christy? Was he better than you? I don't know. Because they were neighbors, you know. You had North Dakota, you had South Dakota. Brooke Rollins, thank you, Brooke. Great job. She's now the agricultural secretary. Christy Nome, great governor also, but she's doing I don't know. Do you like this better than being governor? Don't say. Don't say. They love you in the state. Don't say. Maybe the most important guy in this whole place. You know, a lot of projects have stopped using environmental stuff. A lot of projects have stopped. They use it as a weapon, the radical left and others. They use it as a weapon. This man is the greatest. He's doing a job that's incredible. Doug would tell you that. Everybody will tell you that. Lee Zeldin. He's the head of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. He's the head of it. Great guy. He was a great politician, a tremendous congressman. He ran for governor of New York, which is tough. And he almost won. I'm glad he didn't win, actually. I wouldn't have you right there. And I said, Lee, a nuclear power plant, we give you 1 week to get me the approval. So, but he's been done great. And we have factories and we have plants all over the world right now, and they're being built and they're going up. Also, Governor Kim Reynolds from Iowa. Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And Lieutenant Governor Chris Corner. Where's Chris? Chris Corner. Thank you, Chris, very much. Great job. You have Senator Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst. Chuck! Hi, Chuck. Wow. That's great. He's doing great, too. He's got more energy than all of us. And where's Joni? Is Joni here? Hi, Joni. Very good. Good job. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Joni. And you have members of Congress, Ashley Hinson, Marionette Miller Meeks, Zach Nunn, Randy Feenstra. Good group. We flew in together, and boy, they were nice. They were so happy at that victory today, weren't you? Randy, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was great. We had a good flight. We have an ambassador who's been my friend for a long time, Monica Crowley. I heard her speak. I thought she did really well. Thank you, Monica. And you know Matt Whitaker, a man from Iowa, ambassador to NATO. We also had a person, I have to give her credit, Brenna Bird, Attorney General. She came out and she endorsed me very early, and I appreciate it. Where's Brenna? Hi, Brenna. She came out, she endorsed me. I said, thank you very much. Who the hell is that? She's great. Former State Senator Brad Zahn. Oh, my man, there he is. I haven't seen you. He was the first man in the entire country that endorsed me, right? Not just from Iowa. He endorsed me 3 months before I ran. He said, that guy from New York should run. So I want to thank you. Really great. You're looking good, too. He's like the Marlboro Man, you know? He looks like the Marlboro Man. Handsome guy. Iowa Speaker, Pat Grassley. Pat, thank you very much, Pat. Good. Nice to see you, Pat. Iowa Senate Majority Leader, Jack Whitver. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. Iowa House Majority Leader-elect, Bobby Kaufman. Thank you, Bobby. Great future. Great future. A friend of mine, Dan Newland, who's the most generous human being. He gives away. He hears somebody's in trouble. He hears somebody's in trouble, and he goes wild, and he's just a very good guy. And Jeff Kaufman, the head of your party here. So come on, stand up, Jeff. You can stand up. Thank you, Jeff. Great job. And Jeff was with me right from the beginning. When I was complaining about things, I'd call him. He'd do it sometimes. He was better as I started winning, right? But Jeff has been great. He's a great leader. Thank you very much, Jeff, for being here. And I have to say that Lee Greenwood has been unbelievable. That song, where is Lee? Is he around here? That song, it's the hottest song of its kind. Number one of its kind. You know, it's a certain genre. But thank you, Lee, very much. Real great song and great talent. This Independence Day, let's also give a very special thanks to every veteran and military service member here tonight for their outstanding devotion to our country. And I also want to thank you, fellas. Stand up, fellas. Look at them. They're in good shape. Thank you very much. Wow. That's a lot of veterans. Thank you very much. What an honor. I also want to thank the large group of Iowa pastors and faith leaders for their beautiful prayers, including Pastors Joshua Kent, Tammy Hall, Joseph Hall, Corrine Sturts, Maureen Prakash, Aji Prakash, Dan McCoy, Rose Kessler, Michael DeJong, Jose Rodriguez, and ministry leaders, Virginia, Calgary, Sarah Kent, and thanks also to Bob Vanderplatz. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Stand up. You're the people we want to listen to. Stand up. Thank you. There they are. Look at that group. I want to be with them. They have the real power. They have more power than all of us. Thank you. You've been so good and so supportive. We were supported with the evangelicals, 89%. And we're looking for the other 11%. We don't believe it. As we prepare to celebrate 2.5 centuries of freedom, I'm inviting America's great religious communities to pray for our nation and for our people. From the beginning, this has always been a country sustained and strengthened by prayer. So important. If we bring religion back stronger, you're going to see everything get better and better and better. You're going to see it get better and better. So as we chart our course toward the next 250 years, let us rededicate ourselves to one nation under God. Right? And as you know, recently we've seen some of our political system attempting to overthrow the timeless American principles and other pillars of our liberty and replace them with some of the most noxious ideas in human history, ideas that have been proven false. Members of Congress and even former presidents have been openly embracing vile creeds such as socialism, Marxism, and straight-up communism. In New York, they're trying to elect a communist, Zoran Mamdani, the guy who wants to defund the police, take over the stores and run the stores and have the people hand out goods. And when everything falls apart, it always does. It always works that way. It never has worked any other way. Anarchy and dictatorships prevail. This guy is a communist at the highest level, and he wants to destroy New York. I love New York, and we're not going to let him do that. Generations of Americans before us did not shed their blood only so that we could surrender our country to Marxist lunatics on the eve of our 250th year. As President of the United States, I'm proclaiming here and now that America is never going to be communist in any way, shape, form, and that includes New York City. And under my administration, we're bringing back freedom and liberty, law and order, and above all, we're bringing back common sense, right? Common sense. On day one, I stopped the weaponization of government against people of faith, and we created the Department of Justice Task Force combating anti-Christian bias. And I have to tell you, Pam Bondi is doing a great job. Pam Bondi is doing a great job. Attorney General. I ended the Green New Scam and terminated the insane, the electric vehicle mandate where everybody had to have a car that happened to be all electric in the next few short years. The mandate, some people want to have gasoline powered, some people want to have hybrids, maybe even someday hydrogen. Right now I don't like it because when they blow up, they don't ever find the body. They find the body about 5 blocks away. That does not sound promising to me. They said, no, it's getting better. I said, that's okay. Let somebody else use it. But we're not going to have all electric. We're going to have electric if people want it. Electric is great. But gasoline, people like better in many cases. But you can have whatever you want. But it's ridiculous to mandate that everybody's going to be driving an electric car in 5 years from now. So I ended it. I signed an order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education and send education back to the states. That means Iowa's going to run their own education. You're going to have to run your own education. Iowa will, I use you in my thoughts. Whenever I always say Iowa and Indiana, and I'd mention certain states, but you want to run your own education because you don't want the bureaucrats in Washington doing it. And I made English the official language of our country. You would think that would be an easy one. It was not as easy as you think. I directed the reinstatement of all patriots expelled from our military by the Biden vaccine mandate, returning them to their former rank with full back pay. And I signed executive orders to abolish critical race theory and transgender insanity from our schools and from our military. And I made it official policy of the United States that there are only 2 genders, male and female. And if it's okay with Iowa, we are keeping men out of women's sports. Is that okay? I also renamed the Gulf of Mexico. I renamed it to the Gulf of America. And we're restoring the name of the greatest president, one of the truly great presidents, somebody that made our country very rich, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley in Alaska. So in conclusion, in everything we do, we're once again defending the values, traditions, and beliefs that made every generation before us so very proud to be American. You know that better than anybody in Iowa. And here in Iowa and across this land, we believe that America is an exceptional nation, blessed by God. It's really destined to be the freest, strongest, the greatest country ever to exist on the face of the earth. And we're going to make it that way much more so than it's ever been. We believe in the wisdom of our founders who declared that our rights do not come from bureaucrats in Washington. Our rights come from our Creator in heaven. That's where our rights come from. And we reject government discrimination and so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion mandates. They're just about washed out the window, actually. They're just about over with. We're just about finished. In this country, we believe in hard work and we believe in merit. And by the way, We're allowed to have merit. We're now back to being a merit-based system. We had a decision in the United States Supreme Court. Our country is now a country based on merit. We oppose censorship, price controls, open borders, and sex changes for children. We support our troops, respect our police, and salute the heroes of ICE and Border Patrol. We cherish our Constitution, and we defend free speech, free assembly, religious liberty, and the right to keep and bear arms, our Second Amendment. We take our pride in our heritage, and we want it in a beautiful heritage that we have, and we teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. You have to respect our flag. From Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Gettysburg to the Golden Gate Bridge, and from factories of Detroit to the fairgrounds of Des Moines, we stand on the shoulders of heroes and legends who crossed the oceans, blazed the trails, tamed the wilderness, settled the continent, raised up those beautiful skyscrapers, and stood tall and defiant in the face of tyranny and death. From 1776 all the way through today, American patriots have won triumph after triumph. We've had victory after victory, and let nothing stand in the way of the USA, which we love so much. It was hardworking citizens like you who won our independence, secured our liberty, and built this country with courage, grit, and skill. And starting right here in Iowa, such a great place, and I hope you love it, but it's such a great place. You should love it. You should love it. You know, sometimes you take things for granted. This is one of the really great places, but I've been all over. It was hardworking citizens like you who saved our country in November 2024. Think of that, November 25th. Who would have thought there'd be this much of a change this fast? I didn't even think it would happen this fast. Happened at a level that nobody even thought possible. Again, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Today, with your help, America is free, America is proud, and America is sovereign once more. And this 4th of July, our magnificent destiny is closer than ever before. We are one people, one family, and one united American nation. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down. And we will never, ever, ever surrender. We will fight, fight, fight. We will win, 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 because we are Americans and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and First Lady Melania Trump.
Well, thank you very much, and that is some sight, especially after what happened just a week ago when you look at that big, beautiful plane, and the other ones were something. It was an incredible mission, and I think I can say very proudly, and I don't have to quote the polls, that our country is more proud right now than it's been in many, many years. We have pride, we have dignity, we have something that's happened miraculously so fast. You know that our military now is the most sought after job there's ever been, serving in our military. 1 year ago, people didn't want to join our military, they didn't want to join our police or firefighters. They didn't want to join anything having to do with our country, and now, as you probably know, the enlistment is at an all-time record. We're packed. We're full. And I just think that's so important because that was so sad 1 year ago when I heard those statistics. We had a different president, but nobody wanted to join, and now we're at a record. And I will say that I just left NATO, where we had a tremendous experience. They've agreed to put up over $1 trillion a year. They went from less than 2% to 5%, and nobody thought that was possible. And they told me very strongly, the leaders of a big part of the world, very respected people all, they told me that, 1 year ago your country was dead, and now You have the hottest country anywhere in the world, so that's the way it is, and that's the way we like it. And it's only going to get hotter, I promise you that. After that spectacular display of American power, let me just say that God bless the United States military and God bless the USA. God bless the USA. And to all Americans, I want to wish you a very happy Independence Day, happy 4th of July. This is going to be something special. This spirit in this country, we haven't seen anything like it in many, many years and decades. Let me also express our gratitude to our magnificent First Lady. She worked very hard to make this all work. And we have a fireworks display about 9 o'clock tonight. I hope you're all going to be around and watch it. I know our congressmen and our senators who are standing right here, so many of them, they did such a great job. They're going to be here. I guarantee you, they're not leaving. They're not leaving. Thanks as well to the National Park Service, the USO, and countless friends and distinguished guests. We have so many people in the audience that have so much to do with the success of our country. We've, I think, had probably the most successful almost 6 months as a president and the presidency. I think they're saying it was the best 6 months, and I know for a fact they're saying the last 2 weeks there has never been anything like it as far as winning, winning, winning. So as you know, 2 weeks ago, our incredible Air Force pilots conducted one of the most successful military strikes in all of history, Operation Midnight Hammer, and that's exactly what it was. It was a hammer. This evening, we're honored to be joined by 150 airmen and their families from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, home of the B-2 bomber. And we've kept them a little bit on guard. We kept them a little bit, let's be a little bit quiet about it. But if you want to raise your hand very quickly, raise your hand, because you people are just incredible. They don't want to be in disguise. You know, they say, we don't have to do that. They're looking at us like we're a bunch of babies. We don't have to be in disguise. We saw all those hands go up. Thank you very much. We owe you everything. Great job. Incredible. Just flawless. One of the most flawless military campaigns in the history of our country. If you remember years ago, they had helicopters crashing into each other. It was a disaster, the hostages in Iran. And we had just the opposite. We didn't have any crashes. We didn't lose any planes. We didn't lose anybody. Those beautiful planes that you saw were totally stealth. They flew right over the center of a very hostile country, and they never even saw it coming. And then they said, skedaddle. They dropped the bombs. They said, skedaddle. And that big sucker turned over like this on its side, and it got out of there. Well, I'll tell you what, how they do that, but they can do it. I asked our great General Kane, how do they do that? Do they really love doing that? Look at them, they're all laughing. And they said, do they really like doing it, sir? They can't wait. Better you than me. That's all I can say. It was a flawless mission. Every single bomb hit, and it was total obliteration, total obliteration. Now, even the fake news is admitting that. They hated to admit it, but they had no choice. That was an incredible thing, and these heroic pilots showed our enemies what it means to fly, fight, and win. To every service member who supported that mission, and we have many of them here, we've made we've made you proud by supporting, but you've made us even prouder by having the courage to get in those gorgeous machines and fly through the roughest airspace anywhere in the world. And we salute you and we honor you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. And we're also honored and delighted to be joined by hundreds of service members and military families. Those families are the best we have, from all across the U.S. Armed Forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force. I love the Space Force. You know why? Because we're the ones that did it. It turned out to be a very invaluable force, actually. The Coast Guard and the Marines are incredible people. On behalf of our entire nation, this 4th of July. We thank you for keeping America safe, strong, sovereign, and free. Thank you very much for being here. Great honor. And stick around for the fireworks. And our country's had so much to celebrate this Independence Day. As we enter our 249th year, America is winning, winning, winning like never before. We're not, I'll tell you, we're in a category now that's where we've wanted to be for a long time. We suffered with 4 horrible years of embarrassment. Afghanistan may be the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. We're never going to let a thing like that happen again. Trillions of dollars are pouring into the United States for investment purposes. Almost $15 trillion. There's never been anything like it. There's never been anything even close. The stock market's at an all-time high. Jobs are at an all-time high. Everything's at an all-time high, and we're going to keep it that way. We have the greatest country in the world, and we're back. We're back like nobody thought possible this quickly. I thought it would take maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe even 3. And we did it in less than 6 months. We are back and strong. We've restored American strength and deterrence on the world stage. We're respected again. The world is respecting us again. When we did NATO, those leaders came up to me and they said, you know what, we're going to go to a new level of spending because you're requesting it, sir. They didn't talk to you last president like that, I can tell you. They didn't spend any money. They didn't spend anything. In a few moments, we're going to make official the greatest victory yet when I signed the one big, beautiful bill. And before I start, I want to tell you that I've never seen people so happy in our country because of that, because so many different groups of people are being taken care of, the military and civilians of all types, jobs of all types. We're adding things like the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, child tax credits. So many things are being added that we wouldn't even have time to discuss them. When we were doing it, John Thune and Mike Johnson right there, I see Mike, what a job they've done. What a job they've done. But you know, it was supposed to be in 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 different bills. And I was on one of the fake news shows and I said, let's do it in one beautiful, big, we want one big, beautiful bill. I said that to this newscaster. And I think a lot of the congressmen and senators were watching, and they said, let's name the bill that, one big, beautiful bill. And that's what we did. And what we've done is put everything into one bill. It's never happened before. It's the biggest bill of its type in history. We've never had anything like that before. Nothing like that they thought would be possible to get passed. And actually, I liked it because we had so much in there that no matter who you are, there was something in that bill that would make your congressman or your senator or your congresswoman, much more importantly, raise their hand and support, right, Lisa? So that was something, and it was really something special. So the American people gave us a historic mandate in November. We won everything. We won the swing states, all 7 swing states. We won every one. That rarely happens. We won the popular vote. We won the districts. 2,750 to 505. That's why when you look at a map, it's all red, a little blue on each end, but it's all red. And by the way, red means Republican, just in case. But we made promises, and it's really promises made, promises kept, and we've kept them. This is the triumph of democracy on the birthday of democracy. And I have to say that the people are happy. They're happy. And I listened to a broadcast and I read a couple of articles. They have the Democrats, they should have voted for it. They didn't vote for tax cuts. They didn't vote for taking care of people. They didn't vote, not one vote. And we knew that because their hatred of either the country or me or both is so great. They didn't vote at all, and it's terrible. But I just have to say, they have a routine. It's terrible, they say. Terrible, terrible. You saw that guy standing up for hours yesterday. He didn't know what he was even doing there. I say, when's he sitting down? He had a towel. He's wiping his face. That's not too elegant. But what is he? I said, what is he doing for so long? And he couldn't criticize the bill. He was criticizing everyone else and everything else. So they've developed, and this is according to the news media, they've developed a standard line, and we can't let them get away with it. Oh, it's dangerous. Oh, everybody's going to die. It's actually just the opposite. Everybody's going to live. This is just the opposite. And I just want you to know, if you see anything negative put out by Democrats, it's all a con job. And they said, and they compared it to just like the con job of Russia, 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 and all of the other things they did. The 51 intelligence agents said, and the laptop from hell, it came from Russia, they said. No, it didn't come. A lot of things come from Russia. That didn't come from Russia. And it was all proven out to be a fake job, and that's what they're doing with this. So we just have to look forward, fellas, look forward and just say what it is, because it's the most popular bill ever signed in the history of our country. Whether you're military or anybody else, this is the most popular bill ever signed. And it includes the largest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut, $1.7 trillion, and yet you won't even notice it. Just waste, fraud, and abuse in American history. So you have the biggest tax cut, the biggest spending cut, the largest border security investment in American history. We want to have strong borders, and the only thing is we want to have great elections, too. You need strong borders and elections, and my people have promised me that we're going to go into elections, and we're going to make sure they're not rigged, that they're not sullied. We're going to make sure that the elections are going to be fair. You need two things. You need strong borders, and you need fair elections. And we're going to make sure on the elections also. And our armed forces are one of the most vital military modernizations of all time. It will take place. So we rebuilt our military in our first term. And now we're going to modernize and remodernize our military, including building a great golden dome all over our land, so that if they get nasty with us, it's going to be knocked down. It's going to make any of the golden domes, they call them the iron domes, we're calling ours the golden dome, because we did the iron domes, and we do sort of everything, if you want to know the truth, but this blows it away. We're going to keep you safe. I want to thank every member of the House and Senate who worked to get this bill on my desk, and many of them are here, and I'm not going to mention all their names because we'll be standing here, but I have to mention a few. And especially I want to thank Vice President J.D. Vance, who's been fantastic, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who's been incredible. We have somebody that it was a passion. I think he actually loved it. It wasn't easy, but he loved it. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who's right here. Speaker, thank you very much. What a job, and he worked so closely with the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, who's a fantastic guy. And those two are a team that is not going to be beat. When you look at them and you look at their counterparts on the other side, it's not even close. I want to thank both of you people for doing an incredible job. Thank you very much, John and Mike. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, a brave man. Steve, you know, he suffered a tragedy a number of years ago. I was at his hospital bedside that night with Melania, with our First Lady, and he had no chance. The doctor said he has very little chance, and you look better today than you did then. He didn't look particularly good that night, I will say. But I learned one thing. His beautiful wife loved him. She was a disaster, right? I told him, I said, Steve, I can only tell you one thing. I was with your family and I was with your wife, and your wife was devastated. She loves you. I've seen a lot of wives that, they don't seem to be so concerned in those situations. That's the kind of wife you don't want. But you have a great, beautiful wife who was really there, and you really have done. You're a very brave guy, and Mike and John and everybody that's standing with you knows it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. House Majority Whip, this is a guy who's great. When I have a problem, I call him up, and he gets it done. He's a tough cookie. I don't know why he's not the governor of Minnesota. He comes from Minnesota. He's like, oh, look, he goes, no, I don't want to run for governor. You know, come to think of it, I think that's a good idea. You would win so easily. The guy is terrible. You would win. You just have to take a look at that handsome face of yours, and you'd win. Tom Emmer, everybody. He did a great job. I think you should consider that, although we don't want to lose him, do we? We don't want to. Let's say we are. I think say we are. What a job you did. And Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso, who's incredible. Senate Finance Chairman Mike Crapo. Thank you, Mike. What a job.
What a job. He knows that tax stuff. Him and Jason, they really know their stuff. Senate Budget Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham. What a good man he is. I see a poll. He's running, and I see a poll. He's 24 points up. That's not bad, Lindsey. That's not bad. 24 points up in the great state of South Carolina. House Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith. What a job. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. These people are great. These are great patriots. I have to call them out. House Budget Committee Chairman Jody Arrington. Jody, thank you very much. Jody has been good right from the beginning, and so many others, and they're all here, and they fully understand. They'll never speak to me again, but that's okay. It is what it is, but I just want to thank everybody. A lot of senators here, a lot of congressmen and women here. Lisa, thank you very much, by the way. I have to thank you. Thank you very much. You've been fantastic. So this bill will fuel massive economic growth and lift up the hardworking citizens who make this country run. The factory workers, farmers, mechanics, waiters, waitresses, police officers, firefighters, coal miners. Coal is back. Beautiful. I said you can't use the word coal unless you precede it by saying clean, beautiful coal. China's right now building 68 coal generating plants, and we're putting up wind. It doesn't work, I will tell you. Aside from ruining our fields and our valleys and killing all the birds and being very weak and very expensive, all made in China. I noticed something, that with all of the windmills that China sends us, where we waste our money because it's the most expensive energy, I see that, they make about 95% of them, the wind turbines. I have never seen a wind farm in China. Why is that? Somebody check that out. Tom Emmer, would you please check that out? But all the coal miners we love and the truck drivers, in this act, we have officially made the Trump tax cuts permanent. That's the largest tax cut in the history of our country, added to substantial other cuts, which is you're going to see like a rocket ship. We're setting all sorts of economic records right now, and that's before this kicks in. After this kicks in, our country is going to be a rocket ship economically, and we've delivered no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And that's why when you hear things like that, this is the most it's the biggest bill of its kind ever done by far, but we are going to have a situation, we are going to have something where people are going to realize the level of success and popularity of this bill. And sort of to close it out, it makes the child tax credit permanent for 40 million American families, and to increase the car affordability, it makes interest on a new car payment. So this had never happened before. You buy a car, you borrow money, you're allowed to deduct for income tax purposes your payment of interest. You're allowed to deduct it. It's never happened before. So run out and buy a car. But I have to tell you, it's only good, Mike, if it's made in America. If it's made in another country, you don't get it. And to protect 2 million family farms and other small businesses, we're eliminating the estate tax or the death tax. So if you want to leave your farm or your small business, but the farms they have been devastated, to your children, if you love your children. By the way, if you don't love your children, don't even listen to what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. But if you love, would you live? Yes, I think you love your child. This one loves Barron. So I don't know if we're a small business. I think we're not. I'm not sure that we qualify. I'm sorry, darling. But it was devastating. Farmers, they had to go out and borrow money. And by the way, is that Pam Bondi? Pam Bondi, raise your hand. Thank you, Pam, for being here. Attorney General, she's done an incredible job. So there won't be think of this, there won't be any death tax. You're not going to have to go borrow money. Your parents pass away and the farm goes into the bank's hands and gets foreclosed. That's not going to happen. And with 100% expensing for new investments, we're cutting taxes for every manufacturer who builds, expands. And we have expansion at the highest level that we've ever had it. We have hundreds of factories, including car plants and AI. It's coming into our country at levels that we've never seen. And to conclude, not only will we have the strongest economy on earth, we're also going to have the strongest borders on earth. And last month, Did you see the number? 0 people crossed our border. 0 illegal people. And that's after Joe Biden let 21 million people, many of them people from gangs and prisons and drug lords and people that were mentally unbalanced. They let them into our country. We're getting them out at record numbers, and we have an obligation to, and we're doing it. So as we approach the 250th anniversary of America's founding exactly 1 year from now, we are creating an economy that delivers wealth for the middle class, a border that is sovereign and secure, and a military that is unmatched, unequaled anywhere in the world. And you saw that. And what a beautiful sight that was, especially after watching what they did just a short while ago. The golden age of America is upon us. We are in the golden age. It's going to be a period of time, the likes of which I don't think this country has ever experienced before. We're going to make America great again, and it's happening very fast. We love you. We thank you for being here. Enjoy the fireworks tonight. And First Lady, I want to thank you. You have been unbelievable. You think it's easy being First Lady? It's not. Thank you all very much. Happy 4th of July. God bless you all. Thank you very much, everybody.